So our manpower back in London is a very small team, really. You know, we have about sort of 30 people there that work on logistics, and they are the sort of the puppet masters to kind of coordinate wherever that event is. We obviously have to work with local production partners in every element, you know, whether that is literally from the physical production of building stages and sound and lighting and, you know, barriers and all of that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I know some of our bigger events are, you know, cities where we've known we're going to get sort of a crowd in the multiple hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I remember London one year, we had 2,500 stewards working it. So, you know, and if you imagine you're sort of essentially trying to put on an event of that scale, or, you know, maybe not quite as big as that one, but that scale every night in 6 different cities, you know, and quite often in 6 different language-speaking countries too. So like last year's rally, Istanbul in Turkey, finished in Ibiza, in an island off Spain. You know, that one was through, I think, 11 different language-speaking countries, and in 6 consecutive nights of putting on music concerts in those. And over the course of the week of the rally, I believe we put on, it's around sort of 40 events that range from the smaller things being the dinners for the participants, and obviously the larger ones being the full-on kind of, you know, close the city centre down and have 500,000 people there sort of, you know, cheering the cars in and watching a music event. So, which our events each night are like, you know, if you compare to a music festival, a Coachella or something, you know, what we benefit from is our event is free for the public to attend. So we may well get more numbers than attend those traditional music festivals just because it's free. And what we're trying to build now, or what we've done now for so many years, is in that sort of festival space, we have fan zones, we have food zones, we have sponsor areas, we have, you know, all the sort of stuff that essentially, you know, the events like Formula One or FIFA World Cup are creating, you know, around their events. We're building that, but again, the challenge for us is that it's sort of simultaneous with the same event being set up the next night, the following night, and so on, really. And yeah, it's a massive logistic. But I think from the early years of Gumball, and even the second year of the rally, we flew cars mid-rally, and that was something that I don't believe had ever been done before. And then I got very confident with that, and you know, by the time 2006 came around, that rally started in London and finished in Los Angeles with 2 flights mid-rally of 120 cars being airlifted from Serbia to Thailand, and then from Thailand to Utah mid-rally. And I guess that gave us a lot of confidence on the actual behind-the-scenes logistics. And what we've built on since then is more the public event side of it. From the absolute extremities of commercial America to non-commercial, you know, communist North Korea. And just sort of, again, the not knowing. I think people thought I was absolutely crazy in even attempting to put that one on. And like I said, you know, I never sort of, you know, it didn't come about by me sort of thinking, oh, let's take it to North Korea. You know, it happened in a very strange sort of organic way that there was an opportunity to take it there. And I just ran with it on the basis of just sort of it being a once-in-a-lifetime experience, basically. But the not knowing how it was going to happen, if it would happen, would we get out alive? You know, would we still be there 20-odd years later? Sort of, you know, I think that one is undoubtedly the one that sort of was the biggest sort of unknown. Well, I think I learned early years, you know, in that first sort of 5 years of Gumball, the sort of a tipping point for us was the MTV Jackass show back in 2001. So, you know, up until that point, it was really a handful of people that would come and see the cars set off and arrive in whichever location. And I'm literally talking a handful of people. It would have been friends and family, predominantly, not even in the hundreds of crowd. And during that sort of period, that rally was obviously in Eastern Europe, and then we took the rally to the US 2 years in a row, brought it back to Europe in 2004. And then 2005, we'd had, by that point, the rally started back in London. We'd had sort of 2.5 years, let's say, at that point of MTV awareness, because it wasn't just the Jackass show. We actually had a deal for 10 years with MTV. So BAM and exhibits and all the MTV kind of people, aside from just the Jackass guys, were on the rally for the following decade and broadcast, worldwide. And so when the rally started back in London in 2005, to compare, 2001 it started in London in a prime location in sort of, Hyde Park in London, Hyde Park Corner. We had probably, again, 200 people came to watch the start. 2005, we were expecting, because of our increased awareness, and it's back in our home country, we're expecting a crowd of sort of 5,000 to 10,000, and about 150,000 people came. So that was the realization for us of actually having to look at the event from a different perspective of not just being an event for the participants, but as an event for the public, for who was going to turn up. And most car rallies that I go on, still to this day, and I'm fortunate enough to get invited to, I've done all kinds, from classics to Pagani runs to whatever. They're really catering for the drivers in those events, as they should be, because that's kind of what they've been organized for. But ours is a real balance. Ours is really kind of like 50-50. If anything, our event is more now as a public spectacle. And then the participants almost organically benefit from that, because who doesn't want to drive into a city and have thousands of people cheering their car in, and it makes everyone feel like a rock star for a day, sort of thing. So, so it's a bit of a balance.
When you're looking at a used car, the most important step is a good inspection, and Lemon Squad is the fastest, easiest, and usually the cheapest possible way to get that car inspected, because their nationwide network of certified inspectors can be on site usually within 24 to 72 hours anywhere in the United States to let you know exactly what you're looking at and give you the negotiation leverage that you're looking for. But look, when you're buying a used car, generally you are trading that downside of depreciation of a new car with some mechanical risk that goes with having a used car. And starting with a good inspection is the right first step, but things still happen. Things still break down the road. And Lemon Squad has just launched their new program, Lemon Squad Protect, to insulate from those exact risks. And the coolest thing is, once their inspectors say that the car is good enough to qualify and it goes through their system, you can actually just pay for it month to month and cancel it at any time. The coverage is really affordable, and it is the best way to have that peace of mind that whatever used car you're buying is going to keep behaving itself and not break the bank. So check them out now at the link in the description below, or use the QR code on your screen to check out Lemon Squad Protect and see if your vehicle is eligible. Check out Lemon Squad Protect to thank them for their support of VINwiki, and drive with more peace of mind with Lemon Squad.